There are moments that arrive like a geological fault, small shifts beneath the surface that, when they break, rearrange the world above.
Horford into Victor. He's ahead of the pack. He just puts it over there and points in.
And there is Victor Wembanyama. Oh, mama!
That's the scariest thing that we've ever seen.
For Victor Wembanyama, those moments have a certain theatre. A lanky silhouette in a packed arena, a long arm stealing the light, a soft jumper that looks impossible from 7 feet up. But the truth about Victor is not a single highlight. It is a series of hinge nights, medical breaks, patient rebuilds, and organizational choices that together make the sport tilt. Start at a big present, the return night thunderclap, then rewind, birth, draft, rookie-proof, shutdown, and the slow, stubborn case for greatness. The pivot is instantaneous. The story that follows is not neat. It is full of data, decisions, and the small technical things that explain why a 7'4" body can both rewrite offense and worry the medical staff. Victor Nonga Wembanyama was born January 4th, 2004 in Le Chesnay, France. That single fact signals something more than a date. He comes from a family threaded with athletic competence, a mother who coached and played, a father who competed in track and field, and a childhood that mixed sport with a kind of continental movement that produced unusual coordination for a player his size. The biological precondition matters, but it doesn't explain the rest. What makes Victor legible is the mix of inherited length plus the hours of repetitive micro work. Catching, soft touch, footwork that lets a giant move like a wing. Those are the small things scouts kept circling in film rooms long before draft night. Draft night was not a whisper of possibility, it was a banner. On June 22nd, 2023, the San Antonio Spurs used the first overall pick on Wembanyama, a selection that read as inevitability and audacity at once. The Spurs were not simply drafting a prospect, they were making a generational wager. They bought a vision, a player who could rewrite positional definitions, who could protect the rim and stretch the floor, who could be the fulcrum of a new Spurs era. Drafts create expectations. This one built a franchise thesis. From that announcement forward, the Spurs' roster decisions, marketing moves, and developmental focus all orbited the hope that a teenager's uncanny combination of length and skill could be turned into durable dominance. The rookie season delivered proof, and then some. In 2023 to 2024, Wembanyama arrived and immediately changed statistics that had looked stable. Across his debut year, he produced double-digit rebounds and elite block numbers, while averaging scoring that underlined offensive growth. He didn't only block shots, he altered how teams attacked a Spurs roster that daily dared opponents to test length and touch at scale. By May 2024, he was named the NBA's unanimous Rookie of the Year, a rare consensus that formalized what film rooms had been hinting at. His arrival mattered in ways beyond hype. The unanimous vote was not mere ceremony. It was the league's institutional recognition that a teenage generational prospect had produced season-long outcomes at the highest level of the sport. If the rookie year was proof, the following season introduced contingency. Athletic primes oscillate. Bodies are fragile capital. In February 2025, after returning from All-Star break activity, the Spurs announced Victor had been diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, a blood clot that immediately altered timelines and public conversation. The team placed him into medical care and shut him down for the remainder of the season, while specialists determined the safest path forward. This was not a typical knee tweak headline. A blood clot is a medical event that involves both immediate risk and extended monitoring. The public and franchise had to reconcile on-court promise with clinical prudence. The shutdown was a reminder that athletic narratives bend to biological realities. Medical hiatuses reframe what return means. For Victor, the months away were a different kind of work. Imaging reports, anticoagulant therapy, supervised conditioning, and the long, slow rebuild of confidence in a body that had once felt invincible. Rehabilitation for a clot is not only a mechanical restoration, it is a re-education. How do you teach a 7'4" athlete to move faster and safer without reintroducing the micro-violence that might invite recurrence? How do you calibrate load when the body's circulatory stability is the new constraint? These are not rhetorical questions. They were the operating problems the Spurs medical staff and coaching team had to solve across a calendar. The team's public messaging emphasized caution. The private work emphasized incremental evidence of recovery. When he returned, the scales tipped again. The season opener of October 2025 arrived like an answer, a 40-point, 15-rebound night that read both like reclamation and escalation. He finished with 40 points on 15 of 21 shooting and 15 rebounds, 3 blocks and no turnovers in a rout of Dallas. A blast that looked less like a single-night explosion and more like a demonstration that his core competencies, rim attack, touch, timing, rim protection, were intact. The performance mattered for specific reasons. First, it confirmed the physical possibility. He could still dominate at the rim and finish under contact. Second, it addressed the psychological ledger. After medical silence, he could step into the arena and produce with both volume and efficiency. Third, it forced opponents and executives to recalibrate. This was not a player to be hidden for the future. This was a present engine. To understand Victor fully, you must hold 3 registers together: the body, the skills, and the organizational design, and then watch how they interact across time. First, the body. At roughly 7 feet 4 inches with an enormous wingspan, he is a literal mismatch problem. But mismatch is only useful when movement translates to advantage. Victor's unique trait is his coordination, a guard-like handle for his size, a soft, deceptive touch on floaters, and the timing to contest shots without fouling. Second, the skills. He shoots from the perimeter in ways that make defenses choose between sagging and conceding threes or guarding him on the wing and risking a roll or shot. Third, organizational design. The Spurs, historically patient developers, had to decide whether to build a modern spacing roster around his perimeter threat or to lean into old Spurs values of team defense and structure. Their choices, whom they draft, whom they trade for, how they manage minutes, matter as much as the players' box scores. Statistically, Victor's profile resists easy categories. He blocks shots at an elite rate, alters opponent finishing percentages at the rim, and contributes across rebounds and assists in ways that modern analytics find promising. But the full portfolio includes nuanced frame-by-frame traits: how he times rotations, when he chooses to step out and clamp a shooter, how he spaces the floor by drawing a big defender away from the rim. These micro-decisions compound into team-level metrics: opponent field goal percentage at the rim with him on the floor, defensive rating shifts, and boost in open 3 attempts for teammates. Those metrics are not magic. They are the measurable footprints of spatial leverage. When you read his film, you see the defensive gravity before you see the block. He manipulates the court's geometry and then collects the statistical reward. But the narrative arc cannot avoid the darker nodes: injury risk, and what I'll call fragility tax. Very tall players live under different mechanical economies. Tiny rotational deficits in a foot or pelvis can cascade. The Lisfrancs, the hamstrings, the pelvis. These are the places that whisper before a loud failure. For Wembanyama, the DVT was a medical event that sits outside the standard orthopedic concerns. Blood clots are about vascular integrity. The clinical path forward is to manage risk: anticoagulation, monitoring, modifications to travel protocols, and strict return-to-play thresholds. These interventions often involve trade-offs: more cautious scheduling, perhaps missed time, and a different approach to conditioning and load. The franchise's patience is tested by fans and ownership who want wins now. The medical staff's caution is tested by a player's hunger to perform. That tension defines modern team medicine. Beyond the medical and technical, there is a cultural texture to Victor's arrival. He is not just a player, he is a spectacle in a league that trades on story. International prospectitis meets the Spurs' patient brand. The French wunderkind arrives in an American market that loves size and novelty. His rookie media cycle, viral highlights, European narratives, draft night chants, produced an attention premium. Attention drives organizational decisions: how much cap space the team spends on wings and shooters, how aggressively they pursue two-way defenders, and how quickly they attempt to translate a rookie miracle into sustained wins. The Spurs front office had to balance the marketing upside of Wemby with a sober construction of a roster that could survive his absences without panicking. The playoffs are a different arithmetic. Regular season production is one thing, postseason chess is another. For a player like Victor, the true test will be whether his skill set scales under the grinding pressure of physical defense, repeated scouting, and the fatigue that reveals small mechanical vulnerabilities. Teams will scheme, force him to touch the ball in heavy traffic, attack him in space, and test his defensive lateral capacity through switch-heavy lineups. The Spurs' job is to create a roster environment where his strengths are maximized and his exposures minimized. Shooters who punish overhelp, mobile bigs who can cover ground when he is pulled out, and schemes that avoid putting his body in needless, repeated, high-impact collisions. If the Spurs can manage those constraints, Victor's ceiling is sky high. If not, he may be a seasonally brilliant but repeatedly interrupted star. There are also comparative histories that help frame the projection. The NBA has seen other physically rare players who required bespoke careers. Think of development arcs where patience turned into dynastic pillars, and others where chronic availability problems shortened primes. The difference is organizational tolerance and medical sophistication. A patient franchise that accepts a slower accumulation of wins in exchange for a longer prime often wins the gamble. The Spurs have institutional history that favors patience, but modern economics and media pressure make long, slow builds harder. Victor's arc will therefore test that institutional patience. Will the Spurs prioritize a multi-year sculpting of a generational talent, or will they chase immediate playoff windows that may increase his exposure and risk? For those who want a clear ledger of the most important factual anchors, born January 4, 2004 in Le Chesnay, France, drafted number 1 overall by the San Antonio Spurs on June 22, 2023, unanimous NBA Rookie of the Year in May 2024 after a season that validated early expectations, diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder in February 2025 and shut down for the remainder of that season, and a triumphant, high-efficiency 40-point, 15-rebound return in October 2025 that underlined both his capability and the urgency of managing his future carefully. Those are the nodes that any honest narrative must include. If you want a short interpretive line that balances evidence with humility, here it is. Victor Wembanyama is both the most structurally consequential young player in the modern NBA and the most institutionally fragile. His toolkit is special: rim protection, perimeter touch, spatial manipulation, and his presence alters opponent schematics nightly. But his career will be decided in the small choices that follow this present moment: how a franchise manages travel and load, how surgical and medical teams mitigate vascular risk, which teammates the front office acquires to hide weaknesses, and whether playoff pressures will reveal subtle mechanical weaknesses. The headlines will focus on the 40 to 15 return nights and the viral highlight reels. The long-term story will be written in minutes management, roster architecture, and seasons of sustained availability. To close with an image that fits the kind of hinge we began with, watch a single slow-motion replay of his 40-point return, the arc of a float, the fingertip finish, the block that rewrites a possession, and remember that the moment is both a proof and a question. Sports gives us these dramatic public proofs because they condense complex runs of labor into a single visible act. Victor's visible acts have been stunning. The question now is whether a fragile body and a patient franchise can translate those acts into a long, coherent legacy. The league, the Spurs, and the fans will watch closely. The real test is not a single night's box score. It is accumulation, health, adaptation, and the steady work that turns flashes into a career that matters for decades.